A millionaire gave 2 unlimited black cards to test his ex-fiancée and the new nanny, and he almost cried when he saw what the nanny bought. Before we start, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. Robert Marshall was tired of being loved for what he owned. And that night, he decided to prove something. To himself and to the world. After a disastrous dinner with his ex-girlfriend, Bianca, a model used to magazine covers and convenient relationships, Robert got into his car, closed the door and murmured, "No one cares about who I am anymore, just about what I have." He started the car, but stayed still, staring at his reflection in the rearview mirror. That's when the idea struck him, like a spark. A test, simple, direct, and impossible to manipulate. Hours later, back at home, he called Daniel, his best friend and assistant. "Daniel, I want to find out who truly cares about me. Is that a therapy request or a social experiment?" His friend joked. "A test." Robert stood up, determined. 2 unlimited black cards, one for Bianca and the other for Ashley. Daniel's eyes widened. "Theo's nanny? Exactly. You're giving an unlimited card to your son's nanny? I want to see what each one does when they hold that kind of power." Daniel let out a low whistle. "This is going to get messy." Robert gave a half smile. Messy reveals people. The next morning, the house was in its usual chaos. 6-year-old Theo ran through the living room with a towel tied like a superhero cape, while Ashley tried to convince him to eat breakfast before saving the world. "Theo, the cereal is running away from the bowl," she said, laughing, as the boy flew a spoon like an airplane. Robert appeared at the doorway, watching the scene with a mix of exhaustion and tenderness. "How do you stay so calm?" Ashley shrugged. "When you work with kids, you learn to dance through the chaos." She was simple, spontaneous, and completely different from the glamorous crowd Robert usually dealt with. Hair tied up any old way, easy smile, honest eyes. Theo, always curious, pointed at his father. "Dad, Ashley sings like a happy duck." Ashley acted shocked. "A happy duck sings with feeling, Theo. It's called art." Robert laughed, and for the first time in a long while, the room felt light. Maybe that's what he'd been missing. Real people still exist. After breakfast, Robert asked Ashley to come to his office. She entered shyly, wiping her hands on her apron. "You wanted to see me, sir?" "Yes," he said, handing her a shiny black card. "I'd like you to take this." Ashley blinked, surprised. "A card? It's a gift. You can use it however you'd like." "Mr. Vasquez, this must be a mistake." "It's not," he said firmly. "No limits. Just use it." She hesitated. "Is this some kind of test?" Robert hid his discomfort. "Just a gift." Meanwhile, behind the computer screen, Daniel was watching everything with a mischievous grin. As soon as Ashley left the room, he commented, "What about Bianca? Will she get the same gift?" "Yes, and I want you to track every single expense." Daniel typed quickly. "This is going to be interesting." That same afternoon, Bianca received her card. Her smile was instant and clearly practiced. "Finally, you're recognizing my worth." She winked. "Don't worry, I'll make good use of it." Robert just gave a quiet nod, already imagining where this would go. Hours later, the plan was in motion. The monitoring system started pinging on the computer. Daniel showed up with a coffee mug. "We've got action." Bianca started using the card. "What's she buying?" Robert asked. "Private jet rental, 5-star hotel bookings, and designer clothes. Oh, and she added this caption, philanthropy trip." Robert snorted. "Of course, luxury charity work." A few minutes later, another alert popped up on the screen. "Now it's Ashley," Daniel said. "Wait a second, this doesn't make sense." "What is it?" "She's spending on balloons, toys, colored paint, candy, and juice boxes." Robert frowned. "Balloons?" Theo, playing near the door, heard them and chimed in. "I know. I think Ashley's throwing a party, but she didn't invite me." Daniel burst out laughing. "Either she lost her mind, or she's planning the best birthday ever." Robert crossed his arms, intrigued. "Keep tracking everything. I want to know where this is going." That night, he went downstairs to see if Ashley was still around. She wasn't. Only Theo was there, sitting on the floor with a notebook. "What are you working on, champ?" "A treasure map," he replied excitedly. "Ashley said tomorrow we'll have a secret plan." Robert knelt down. "A secret plan, huh?" "Yep. She said it's going to be a happy day for people who don't usually get happy days." Robert stayed silent for a moment. That sentence hit him in an unexpected way. He went back up to the office and looked at the purchase summary again. Balloons, toys, paint, candy, no fancy brands, no luxury, just simple things. Daniel walked in, wearing a teasing smile. "Want to admit you're curious?" Robert answered without looking up. "I just want to know what she's doing, that's all." But deep down, that wasn't true. He wanted to understand why. He wanted to understand her. Hours later, the system showed a new charge: rental of a community hall in the downtown area. Robert straightened up in his chair. "What is she up to, Daniel?" "Looks like an event." "An event for what?" "That, my friend, we'll have to find out tomorrow." Robert leaned back, watching the city lights through the window. At that moment, he realized something had shifted. For the first time in a long time, he was feeling excited. But not because of a business deal. Not because of a contract. Because of a simple gesture he couldn't figure out. Without knowing it, Robert Marshall, the man who said he didn't believe in love, had just opened the door to the biggest challenge of his life. The challenge of two choices had begun. The next morning, Robert woke up earlier than usual. He hadn't slept well, still thinking about those strange purchases. Balloons, paint, candy. What was Ashley planning? He went down to the kitchen and found Theo already at the table, chewing toast with jelly all over his cheeks. "Good morning, champ." "Morning, Daddy," the boy replied, mouth full. "Ashley said we have some important stuff to do today." Robert poured himself some coffee. "What kind of stuff?" Theo shrugged, licking his fingers. "Secret grown-up stuff, but I'm going with her." "You are?" "Of course, I'm the official assistant." Theo puffed out his chest. "And assistants go on missions." Robert hid a smile behind his mug. That boy was impossible to resist. A few minutes later, Ashley walked into the kitchen. Her hair was in a slightly messy ponytail, and she wore jeans and a simple shirt with a cat printed on it. "Good morning, Mr. Marshall," she said cheerfully. "Theo, are you done with breakfast? We've got a busy morning ahead." "All done." Theo jumped from his chair. "Are we going to save the world?" Ashley laughed. "Something like that." Robert cleared his throat. "You two heading out?" "Yes, just running a few errands downtown." She paused. "Do you need me to stay?" No, go ahead." He tried to sound casual. "Just curious, what are you two doing?" Ashley blinked, surprised by the question. "Oh, just some last-minute shopping. Nothing special." Theo crossed his arms like his dad. "Dad, you sound like a spy." Robert nearly choked on his coffee. "Me? Of course not." Ashley smiled and picked up her purse. "Come on, Theo, let's let your dad get back to work." As soon as they left, Robert rushed upstairs to the office. Daniel was already there, looking at the computer with an amused expression. "You're just in time for the show," Daniel said, pointing to the screen. "Bianca just used the card." Robert stepped closer. "Where?" "Airport. She rented a private jet." "Of course she did." Daniel clicked on another tab. "And look at this caption she posted. Sometimes we need to fly high to help those down below. Philanthropy trip in progress." Robert rolled his eyes. "First-class charity." "Wait, there's more." Daniel zoomed in. "She also shopped at 3 designer stores, purses, shoes, dresses, all top brands, and she booked a photo shoot to raise social awareness." Robert crossed his arms. "Awareness of what?" "Good question. So far, all I've seen are pictures of her holding champagne." Robert shook his head, but he wasn't surprised. Bianca had always been predictable. Glamour disguised as kindness. Image above all. "And Ashley?" he asked. Daniel typed quickly. "No new charges yet, but her phone tracker shows they're headed downtown." Robert looked out the window, thoughtful. "I want to know what she's going to do." Daniel turned in his chair, curious. "Do you really think she's going to surprise you?" "I don't know," Robert hesitated, "but something tells me she will." Meanwhile, Ashley and Theo were walking through the Central Market, a modest place, popular with local families. Nothing fancy, but full of life. Theo pushed the shopping cart with excitement, taking wide turns down the aisles. "Careful, Theo. You almost knocked over the bananas," Ashley said, laughing. "Sorry, this cart has superpowers." She shook her head, amused, while picking up packs of colorful balloons from the shelves. Then she headed to the toy section and chose balls, simple dolls, plastic cars, and building sets. Theo watched it all with wide eyes. "Ashley, are you opening a toy store?" "No, sweetheart, it's for a surprise." "A surprise for who?" "For kids who deserve to smile." Theo frowned, confused, but didn't ask anything else. Instead, he helped load the juice boxes into the cart while Ashley picked out colorful paints, brushes, and bags of candy. In the checkout line, an elderly woman looked at the items with curiosity. "Is there going to be a big party?" she asked, smiling. Ashley smiled back. "Something like that. A party for people who could use a little joy." The woman nodded, touched. "God bless your heart, dear." Out of nowhere, Theo jumped into the conversation. "I think my nanny's throwing a giant party and forgot to invite me." The woman laughed. Ashley blushed. "Theo, you're invited, don't worry." "Yay!" He raised his arms in celebration, almost knocking over a stack of gum. Ashley paid with the card Robert had given her. The cashier looked at the black card, then at the simple purchases, and frowned, confused. But she didn't say anything. As they left the store, Theo stopped in front of Ashley, serious. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Why did you buy all this? My dad gave you a magic card. You could have bought a castle." Ashley crouched down to his level, adjusting the backpack on her shoulders. "You know, Theo, not everything valuable is expensive. Sometimes the best thing we do with money is turn it into smiles." Theo tilted his head, thinking. "Like magic?" "Exactly. Real magic." He smiled, satisfied with the answer. "You're the best nanny in the world." Ashley felt a tightness in her chest. That little boy had a way of saying things that knocked down any walls she had. While they walked back home, Robert was still glued to his computer screen. The system showed every purchase. "Shopping at the Central Market," Daniel said, reading the transaction list. "Balloons, paints, toys, candy, all basic stuff. Nothing fancy." Robert frowned. "She really spent money on that?" "Yeah, and the total? Less than $1,000. "Less than 1,000, Robert repeated, stunned. "She has a card with no limit and spent under $1,000? Daniel leaned back in his chair, impressed. Meanwhile, Bianca already blew through over 50,000. Robert stayed quiet, thinking. 50,000 on luxury versus 1,000 on smiles. The contrast was huge. "Something's off," he murmured. "What do you mean?" "Nobody does that, Daniel. Nobody gets an unlimited card and buys balloons." Daniel shrugged. "Maybe she's just different." Robert looked at the screen again. Theo's words echoed in his head. "Ashley said it's going to be a happy day for people who don't usually have happy days." He stood up, determined. "I want to see what she's planning, in person." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "You're going to follow her?" "I'm not going to follow. I'm going to observe." "That's literally the definition of following." Robert ignored the comment and grabbed his car keys. "Let me know if anything new comes up." Daniel nodded, smiling. "Good luck, detective." Robert walked quickly down the stairs, his heart beating faster than it should. He wasn't exactly sure what he was expecting to find, but one thing was certain. Ashley was about to show him something he never saw coming. And for the first time in years, Robert Marshall felt like he was about to learn a lesson money could never buy. Robert parked his car 2 blocks away, feeling ridiculous. There he was, a respected billionaire, hiding behind the wheel like some amateur spy in a bad movie. Daniel called right away. "So, are you a professional spy now?" "Shut up," Robert answered, but there was no real anger in his voice. Tracking shows they stopped at an address in the Harrison neighborhood, Maple Street, number 342. Robert memorized it. "What's at that address?" "Let me check." Daniel typed something. "Oh, it's a community daycare, Happy Corner." Robert frowned. A daycare? What was Ashley doing at a daycare with all those supplies? "Thanks, Daniel." "Enjoy your secret mission, Agent Marshall." Robert hung up and got out of the car, walking carefully along the sidewalk. In the distance, he could hear kids' voices, laughter, and loud music. When he turned the corner, he saw a small building painted light yellow, with a front yard full of old but well-kept toys. A banner over the entrance read, "Welcome to Happy Corner." The door was slightly open. Robert walked up slowly and peeked through the glass. What he saw left him completely speechless. The room had been transformed. Colorful balloons filled the ceiling, crepe paper streamers decorated the walls, and tables were covered with candy, simple cakes, and juice. At least 20 kids were running around, laughing, shouting, painting posters on the floor. And right in the middle of that organized chaos was Ashley. She wore an apron covered in paint, blue on the shoulder, yellow on the sleeve, green on her hands. Her hair was even messier than usual, with a crooked bow pinned to the side. She laughed out loud as she tried to separate two children who were fighting over a paintbrush. "Easy, easy. There are enough brushes for everyone," she said, raising her hands like a referee. "No need to fight over art." Theo showed up beside her, dressed in a makeshift red cape and a paper mask. "I am Super Theo, protector of justice and paintbrushes." The kids laughed. Theo grabbed an extra brush from a box and handed it to the boy who did not have one. "Mission complete," he announced, striking a superhero pose. Ashley ruffled his hair, smiling. "My favorite assistant." Robert was still standing in the doorway, unable to move. This was so different from anything he had ever known. There were no cameras, no rehearsed smiles, no one trying to impress anyone. It was just joy, pure and simple. One of the kids, a little girl with braids, ran up to Ashley. "Auntie Ashley, look what I painted." Ashley knelt down to look at the picture. "Wow, is that a family?" "Yes," the girl smiled proudly. "Me, my mom, and my brother, and that's the dog I want to have someday." Ashley gave her a hug. "It's beautiful, sweetheart. I'm going to hang it on the wall of honor." The girl ran off, glowing. Out of nowhere, Theo spotted his dad standing in the doorway. His eyes went wide. "Daddy!" All the kids stopped and looked at the entrance. Ashley turned, surprised, and her cheeks turned red right away. "Mr. Marshall, what are you doing here?" Robert, unsure of what to say, stepped inside slowly. "I was just passing by and—" "Liar!" Theo ran up to him, laughing. "You were spying on us." The kids started laughing. Robert felt his face grow warm. "I was not spying. I just wanted to see what you all were doing." Ashley crossed her arms, trying to look serious, but her smile gave her away. "And did you find out?" "I think so." She looked around at the kids, the simple decorations, the colorful mess. "This is the happy corner. I have been volunteering here since before I started working as Theo's nanny. These kids, many of them do not have much, so I wanted to give them a special day." Robert felt something tighten in his chest. "And you used the card for this?" "Yes," she hesitated. "I hope you do not mind. I know it was a gift, but—" "No," he cut her off, his voice gentler. "I do not mind." Theo tugged on his dad's hand. "Daddy, you have to help. The party needs more grown-ups." Before Robert could answer, Ashley smiled playfully. "Mr. Marshall does not look like someone who knows how to play with kids." Robert raised an eyebrow. "Are you challenging me?" "Maybe." She handed him a paintbrush. "Let's see if a billionaire can paint as well as a 5-year-old." He took the brush, determined. "Where do I paint?" "Over there." Ashley pointed to a white banner stretched out on the floor. "Each child is leaving a mark. You can leave yours too." Robert knelt down beside the kids, feeling completely out of place, and strangely, okay. He began painting something simple, maybe a house. Theo showed up next to him, watching closely. "Daddy, your house is crooked. I'm trying to do abstract art." "Abstract what?" "Never mind." The kids laughed. One of them, a boy with curly hair, nudged Robert. "Are you really rich?" Robert blinked. I am." "Then why are you on the floor painting with us?" The question caught him off guard. Because you invited me." The boy seemed happy with the answer and went back to painting. Ashley watched everything from a distance, arms crossed, smiling softly. There was something about that serious man, always so composed, now crouched on the floor, covered in paint, trying not to mess up a crooked house. Suddenly, one of the kids tripped while running and bumped into a bucket full of confetti. The bucket flew through the air and dumped everything, right on top of Robert. Silence. Theo was the first to react, bursting into laughter. Daddy turned into a human confetti. The other kids broke out laughing. Robert stood still, covered in colorful paper from head to toe, blinking slowly. Ashley covered her mouth, trying not to laugh, but it was no use. "I'm sorry, Mr. Marshall, but—" She could not finish the sentence. Laughing out loud, Robert looked down, seeing the ridiculous state he was in. And then, something rare happened. He laughed. For real. All right. He raised his hands in surrender. "I deserve that." Theo ran over and hugged his dad's legs, still laughing. "You're the best clown at the party, Daddy." "Clown, huh?" Robert messed up his son's hair. "I'm coming for you." Theo took off running, shouting, and the other kids followed, turning the room into a whirlwind of happy chaos. Ashley walked up to Robert and handed him a cloth to wipe his face. "Thanks for coming," she said. He took the cloth, looking at her with sincerity. "Thanks for letting me stay." They stood there, surrounded by laughter and color, and for the first time in a long while, Robert felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be. In that moment, surrounded by simplicity and real joy, he understood something important. It was never about the money. It was about what you chose to do with it. And Ashley had chosen smiles. The party went on for another 2 hours. When it finally ended, the room looked like a colorful battlefield. Paint on the walls, confetti on the floor, deflated balloons in the corners. But the smiles on the kids' faces were worth every bit of the mess. Robert helped clean up, something he never imagined himself doing. He swept up confetti, picked up paper cups, and even tried to scrub paint off the wall with little success. "Mr. Marshall, you really don't have to do that," Ashley said, holding a trash bag. "I helped make the mess. It's only fair I help clean it." Theo showed up with a broom twice his size. "I'll help too." Super Theo never walks away from a mission. Ashley laughed and ruffled the boy's hair. "Thank you, superhero." Once everything was somewhat under control, Robert checked his watch. It was already past 5 in the afternoon. "Have you two had dinner yet?" Ashley blinked, surprised. "Not yet." "How about we grab a coffee?" He paused. "Or dinner, whatever you prefer." Ashley was speechless for a second. Was that an invitation? Before she could answer, Theo raised his hand like he was in school. "I want to go. Can I go, Dad?" "Please," Robert chuckled. "Of course, buddy. You're invited." "Yay," Theo jumped. "Can we go to that place with the giant milkshakes?" "Sure." Ashley was still processing it. Robert Marshall, the serious, reserved billionaire, was inviting her and Theo to dinner. It felt surreal. "Okay then," she said, still a bit shy. "But I need to stop by home first. I'm covered in paint." Robert glanced down at himself, still wearing confetti on his shirt. "Me too." Theo giggled. "You both look like you wrestled a rainbow." 40 minutes later, they were seated in a cozy little diner downtown. Nothing fancy, just a simple place with wooden tables, plastic-covered menus, and the smell of burgers in the air. Theo sat next to Ashley, already stacking sugar packets like building blocks. Robert watched with amusement. "He never sits still, does he?" "A quiet child is usually planning something," Ashley joked. "That's true," Robert smiled. "And he's a master at mischief." Without looking up from his sugar tower, Theo said, "I heard that, and I don't do mischief. I do scientific experiments." Ashley burst out laughing. "Scientific experiments? Like the time you put soap in the garden fountain?" Theo gave an innocent look. "I wanted to see if it would really make bubbles." "Oh, it did," Robert added, rolling his eyes. "Bubbles everywhere. Daniel spent the whole afternoon cleaning up." Ashley laughed so hard she had to wipe her eyes. "I remember that. Daniel said it looked like a snowstorm, but with a lavender scent." They all laughed together, and the mood at the table grew light and easy. It felt like they had known each other for years, not just a few hours. The waitress brought their food. Simple burgers, fries, and one giant strawberry milkshake for Theo, who cheered like he'd won a prize. "It's really huge," he shouted, making nearby tables turn and smile. Ashley gently reminded him, "Theo, indoor voice, remember?" "Sorry," he said in a quieter tone, but the smile stayed on his face. As they ate, Robert noticed Ashley playing with her fries, looking a little distracted. "Are you okay?" She looked up, surprised. "Yeah, of course. Just thinking." "About what?" Ashley hesitated, then took a deep breath and chose honesty. "About the happy corner. About those kids. I grew up in places like that." Robert paused, his fork halfway to his mouth. "What do you mean?" "Group homes," she said with a soft, sad smile. "I spent most of my childhood in them. Never really had a real family. That's why I love working with kids. I want to give them what I never had." Theo, still slurping his milkshake, stopped and looked at her seriously. "You didn't have a mom or a dad?" "No, sweetie, but I had some really kind people who took care of me. Like how we take care of you now?" Theo asked innocently. Ashley's eyes filled with tears. "Yeah, something like that." Robert watched in silence, his chest tightening. He'd always known Ashley was special, but he had no idea how much strength and kindness was hidden inside that simple, beautiful woman. "That's why you use the card that way," he said, more to himself than to her. Ashley nodded. "I know it might seem silly. Balloons, candy, paint. Simple stuff. But to me, those things mean childhood, and every child deserves that." Robert stayed quiet for a moment, then said sincerely, "It's not silly. It's the most thoughtful thing I've seen anyone do." Ashley smiled, clearly touched. Out of nowhere, Theo dropped his straw and pointed at his dad. "Dad, your face is red." Robert blinked. "What? Your face?" "It's red." Theo laughed. "I think you like Ashley." Ashley almost choked on a French fry. Robert opened his mouth, unsure of what to say. "Theo, don't lie, Dad. I saw it." "You look at her with that goofy face." People at nearby tables started chuckling quietly. Robert felt his ears heating up. "Theo, please." Ashley tried to help, but she was laughing so much she could barely speak. "Theo, let your dad be." "But it's true." Theo crossed his arms, totally serious. "He looks like that every time you sing those weird songs in the morning." "Weird songs?" Ashley pretended to be shocked. "I sing classics. Off-key classics." Theo added, laughing, "Hey, show some respect for the arts." Robert, still blushing, shook his head but couldn't help smiling. That boy had a special gift for awkward moments. But strangely, he didn't mind. For the first time in years, he felt human. Not the billionaire CEO, not the untouchable businessman. Just Robert, a man laughing with his son and a woman who made him see the world in a new way. When they finished eating, Theo started getting sleepy, resting his head on Ashley's shoulder. "Looks like someone's tired," she said, gently running her hand through his hair. "It's been a full day," Robert agreed, calling for the check. They left the diner together, Theo holding both of their hands, sleepy but happy. The night air was cool, and the city lights shimmered along the streets. Robert looked at Ashley, who was softly humming an off-key melody as she helped Theo drift to sleep. And in that moment, something shifted inside him. It wasn't just curiosity. It wasn't just admiration. It was something deeper. Something real. He didn't know what to call it yet. But he knew one thing for sure. He didn't want that moment to end. A few days had passed since that night at the diner. Robert felt lighter, smiling more often. Daniel even joked that he was almost human again. But there was something he needed to do, something that had been weighing on him since the beginning, telling the truth about the test. The next morning, he called Daniel into his office. "I need you to set up a meeting," Robert said, serious, "with Bianca and Ashley, this afternoon." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Both of them? Together?" "Yes." "This should be interesting." Daniel crossed his arms. "Can I ask why?" Robert sighed. "I'm going to tell the truth about the cards." Daniel made a face. "Are you sure about that?" "Ashley's not going to like knowing she was tested." "I know." Robert ran a hand through his hair. "But she deserves the truth." Daniel simply nodded, concerned. He knew his friend well enough to sense when he was about to do something risky. At 3 o'clock sharp, Bianca arrived first. She walked into the office like it was a runway. Wearing an expensive dress, high heels, and large sunglasses, she moved dramatically as she sat down. "Robert, darling, what a surprise to be called here." She crossed her legs and smiled. "I hope this is to thank me for using that generous gift so well." Robert didn't respond. He simply waited. Minutes later, Ashley walked in, clearly uncomfortable. She wore jeans and a simple blouse, her hair in a ponytail. When she saw Bianca, she hesitated. "Mr. Marshall, you asked to see me?" "Yes, Ashley. Please have a seat." She sat in the other chair far from Bianca, who looked her up and down with thinly veiled disdain. Robert stood, hands in his pockets, visibly uneasy. "I called you both here because I need to be honest about something." Bianca tilted her head, curious. Ashley just waited quietly. "The cards I gave you." He paused. "They weren't just gifts." Bianca frowned. "What do you mean?" "They were part of an experiment." Robert looked at them both. "I wanted to see who truly cared about me, and not just about what I have." The silence that followed was heavy. Bianca was the first to react, letting out a dry laugh. "An experiment? Seriously, Robert? You gave me a black card to test me?" "Yes." She stood up, offended. "And what exactly were you expecting me to do? Donate it all to charity?" "I was hoping you'd use it in a way that showed who you really are." "I did show you," Bianca said, throwing her hands up, clearly upset. "I'm someone who enjoys life, who likes nice things. What's wrong with that?" "Nothing," Robert replied calmly. "But you also showed that you care more about appearances than anything else." Bianca's face turned red with anger, but she didn't respond. Deep down, she knew he was right. Ashley, who had been quiet until then, finally spoke. Her voice was low but steady. "And me? What did I show you?" Robert looked at her, and for the first time he hesitated. "You showed kindness, generosity, a genuine heart." Ashley slowly stood up, her eyes filled with tears. So all of this was a lie? The gift? The trust? All of it? Ashley? No. She raised her hand to stop him. If you feel the need to test people, Mr. Marshall, it means you never truly trusted them in the first place. Her words hit Robert like a punch to the gut. Bianca, seeing the moment, crossed her arms. Well, at least the two of us agree on something. You were ridiculous. But Ashley wasn't interested in agreeing with Bianca. She only wanted to leave. I'm going, she said, picking up her purse. Ashley, wait. She stopped at the door, without turning around. You hired me to care for Theo, and that's what I'll keep doing, but don't ask me to trust you again. She walked out and closed the door behind her. Bianca huffed and grabbed her bag. Well, that was the most pathetic meeting I've ever been to. Goodbye, Robert. Good luck fixing this mess. She walked out too, leaving Robert alone in the office. Daniel appeared in the doorway, taking in the aftermath. I warned you. Robert sat down, rubbing his face with both hands. I ruined everything. Yeah, you did. That evening, Robert came home early. He went straight to Theo's room, where the boy was lying on the bed, flipping through a superhero book. Hi, Daddy. Hi, champ. Robert sat down at the edge of the bed. Can I talk to you for a minute? Theo closed the book, curious. Sure, you look kind of sad. I am. Robert let out a deep breath. I made a mistake today. What kind of mistake? I hurt Ashley. Theo's face grew serious. Why? What did you do? Robert searched for the right words. I gave her a gift to see what she'd do with it. I was testing her. Theo stared at him. Like a trick? Sort of. Daddy. Theo crossed his arms, trying to look grown up. That's not nice. I know. Ashley's nice. She takes care of me, sings funny songs, plays games. You were mean to her. Those words stung more than Robert expected. Seeing that disappointed look on his son's face was crushing. You're right, Theo. I was mean. Then you need to say sorry. I tried. She didn't want to listen. Theo thought for a moment. Then he said, You know what Ashley told me once? That saying sorry isn't just words. You have to show you really mean it. Robert looked at his son, moved. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. Theo gave him a little grin. You just didn't notice. Robert pulled him into a hug, holding him tight. Thank you, champ. You're welcome. Theo pulled back and looked at his dad seriously. But if Ashley leaves because of you, I'm going to be really mad. I'll do everything I can to make sure that doesn't happen. Theo nodded, satisfied, and went back to his book. Robert walked downstairs and found Ashley in the kitchen, preparing Theo's lunch for the next day. She didn't even look at him when he walked in. Ashley. Mr. Marshall, please, I'm busy. He stepped closer slowly. I know you're upset, and you have every right to be. She stopped slicing bread but kept her back turned. Upset? No, Mr. Marshall, I'm disappointed. That's worse? Yes, it is. Robert took a deep breath. I was a fool, I know that, and I know saying sorry won't fix what I did. Ashley finally turned around. Her eyes still looked hurt. Then why are you here? Because I need you to know. He paused, choosing his words carefully. You reminded me of something I'd forgotten. That there are good people in the world. People who do the right thing, not because they're being tested, but because that's just who they are. Ashley didn't say anything. Her arms were still crossed. And I ruined that, Robert continued. Out of fear, out of mistrust, because I was a coward. She slowly uncrossed her arms, her expression softening just a bit. Mr. Marshall? Please call me Robert. She hesitated, then sighed. Robert, I understand you've been hurt before, but testing people isn't the answer. Trusting them is. I know, he stepped a little closer. And I want to try, to trust, for real. Ashley looked at him for a long moment, and Robert felt like she was seeing straight through him. Finally, she gave a tired nod. All right, I accept your apology, but it's going to take time for me to trust you again. I understand, and I'll wait as long as it takes. She gave a small smile, still sad. Good night, Miss Robert. Good night, Ashley. She left the kitchen, leaving Robert alone. He leaned against the counter, exhausted. He had lost her trust, but at least he still had a chance to win it back. And this time, he wasn't going to waste it. The next morning, Theo woke up with a mission. He sat up in bed, crossed his arms, and declared out loud to himself, if adults don't know how to fix things, then Super Theo will have to act. He ran downstairs to the kitchen, where he found Daniel making coffee. Daniel, I need to talk to you. It's urgent. Daniel turned around, holding his mug. Good morning to you too, Theo. What happened? Theo looked around, making sure no one else was there, and whispered, "My dad and Ashley are mad at each other." "I know. Everybody knows. So we have to do something." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "We who?" "Me and you." Theo jumped onto the chair. "Let's make a secret plan to get them back together." Daniel laughed, amused by the boy's determination. "Theo, that's adult stuff. They'll fix it themselves." "No, they won't." Theo crossed his arms. "Adults are too proud. They need help." Daniel thought for a moment. He looked at the 6-year-old boy with that hopeful little face and sighed. "All right, what do you have in mind?" Theo smiled, victorious. "First, we need Ashley to come here more often." "She already works here every day, Theo." "Yes, but she only stays with me. She needs to stay close to Dad, too." Theo tapped the table like a military strategist. "So I'm going to pretend I'm sick. Then Dad will worry, and Ashley will have to take care of me, and they'll talk." Daniel shook his head, impressed. "You're wicked for a child." "Thank you." Theo smiled proudly. Hours later, the plan went into action. Theo was lying on the living room couch with a blanket over his legs, pretending to be weak. He even put a wet towel on his forehead for extra realism. Robert came home from the office and found his son like that. "Theo? What happened?" "Dad?" Theo spoke with a dramatic voice. "I'm not feeling well." Robert knelt beside him, worried. "Not well how? What are you feeling?" "Headache, dizziness." Theo closed his eyes theatrically. "And my stomach is making strange noises." Robert placed his hand on his forehead. "You don't have a fever." "But I'm sick," Theo insisted. "I think I need Ashley. Only she knows how to make that special tea that makes me feel better." Robert hesitated. He knew Ashley was still upset with him, but if Theo really needed her, "All right, I'll call her." Theo gave a tiny secret smile as soon as his father left the room. A few minutes later, Ashley came in carrying a bag with medicine and a thermometer. "Theo, I heard you're not feeling well." She sat next to him, touching his forehead. "Let me check." Theo kept up the act. "Ashley, only you can cure me." She smiled, amused. "I'll make that chamomile tea you like. Stay right here." Robert watched from a distance, his arms crossed. There was something strange about all this. Theo looked way too lively to be truly sick. When Ashley came back with the tea, Theo drank it all at once and, miraculously, started getting better. "Wow, it worked. Thanks, Ashley. You're magic." Ashley laughed. "I'm glad you feel better, sweetheart." Then Theo looked at his dad and Ashley as if he had just had an idea. "Since I'm better, you two can stay here talking. I'm going to play in my room." And he ran off, leaving the two of them alone. Ashley and Robert looked at each other, awkward. "I think we were set up," Robert said. Ashley sighed but couldn't hold back a smile. "He's too smart for his own good." "For sure." The room went quiet for a moment until Ashley stood up. "Well, if he's fine, I'll—" "Wait." Robert took a step forward. "Can we talk? Just for a minute." She hesitated but finally nodded. "All right." Robert took a deep breath. "I know we're still in a strange place after what happened, but I want you to know I'm trying to be different. Better." Ashley looked at him, her expression softening. "I know, and I appreciate that. Thank you for giving me that chance." She smiled lightly. "Theo wouldn't let me do anything else." They both laughed, and for the first time since the argument, the air between them felt lighter. In the following days, Theo intensified the plan. With Daniel's help, he started writing fake notes in his messy handwriting and leaving them around the house. One of the notes said, "Dad says he misses Ashley. Signed, Dad." Another said, "Ashley is the best nanny in the world. Dad agrees. Signed, also Dad." Robert found one of the notes on the breakfast table and called Daniel. "You're helping Theo with this, aren't you?" Daniel pretended to be innocent. "Helping with what?" "With the fake notes." Robert held up the paper. "Dad agrees? Really?" Daniel laughed. "Hey, the kid has a real gift for persuasion. I'm just supporting the cause." Robert shook his head, though deep down, he found it all amusing. Theo was doing everything he could to fix a mistake he himself had made. Theo's final move came a few days later. He took an old photo of Robert and Ashley smiling together, taken the day of the party at the daycare, and put it in a frame. Then, he placed the photo right in the middle of the living room shelf, where no one could miss it. When Ashley walked into the room that afternoon, she stopped when she saw the picture. "Theo? What is this?" Theo appeared behind her, all innocent. "Oh, that picture? I thought it was so nice I decided to frame it." You both are really smiling. Ashley picked up the frame, looking at the image. It was true. In that photo, both she and Robert looked genuinely happy. Theo, you can't just go around putting frame pictures up in the house without asking. But did you like it? He gave her a hopeful look. Ashley sighed, but smiled. Yes, I liked it. Then let it stay, please. She looked at the photo once more, then finally placed it back on the shelf. All right, it can stay. Theo celebrated silently. His plan was working. That night, Robert came downstairs to get some water and noticed the photo on the shelf. He stopped, staring at it for a long moment. He and Ashley, covered in paint and confetti, laughing like there was nothing to worry about in the world. Theo appeared on the stairs, in his pajamas, watching his father. Did you see the picture I put up? Robert turned around. I did. Did you frame it yourself? Duh. Theo came down the steps and stood beside his dad. Did you like it? I did. Robert ran a hand through his son's hair. But I know what you're doing, you know? Theo's eyes widened. You do? I do. The fake notes, pretending to be sick, the picture. You're trying to help me. Theo lowered his head, embarrassed. Sorry, Dad, I just wanted you and Ashley to be friends again. Robert knelt down to his level. Theo, I'm not mad. Actually, I'm impressed. You're trying to fix something I messed up. And that's very brave. So you're not mad at me? No, but promise me you won't pretend to be sick again? You really scared me. Theo laughed. I promise. Robert hugged his son tightly. Thank you for caring so much. Always, Dad. When Theo went back upstairs to sleep, Robert stayed in the living room looking at the photo once more. That boy was right. He and Ashley needed to be friends again, or maybe something more. And for the first time, Robert let himself think about that possibility. No fear, no tests, just truth. The next morning, Robert woke up with a clear idea in mind. He went down to the office and called Daniel. I need to organize an event, he said, straight to the point. Daniel, still sipping his first coffee, blinked. Good morning to you too. What kind of event? A fundraiser for the Happy Corner. Daniel almost dropped his mug. Ashley's daycare? Exactly. Wow. Daniel sat up straighter in his chair. You're really serious about this? I am. Robert looked out the window. That place needs help, and I want to do something real. Not as a test, not for show, just because it's the right thing to do. Daniel smiled. Now you're speaking my language. When do you want to do it? As soon as possible. 2 weeks? I'll start planning now. Later, Robert called Ashley in for a conversation. She walked into the office, still a bit reserved. You wanted to talk to me? Yes, please, have a seat. Robert pointed to the chair. I have a proposal. Ashley sat down, curious. What kind of proposal? I want to organize a fundraiser for the Happy Corner. Raise money, get donations, bring attention to the work you all do there. Ashley's eyes widened. Really? Completely serious. Robert leaned forward. But I'll only do it if you help me. You know the place, you know what it needs. I need your guidance. Ashley was quiet for a moment, taking it in. Then a slow smile appeared on her face. You really are serious. I am. She stood up, moved. Then I accept. Let's make it happen. Robert smiled, relieved. Great, let's start today. Of course, Theo was not going to miss out. When he heard about the event, he showed up in the room with a little notebook and a pen. I want to help too. Robert raised an eyebrow. Help how? I'm not sure yet. But every event needs an assistant, and I'm the best one. Theo puffed out his chest with pride. Ashley laughed. All right, Super Theo, you can be our official assistant. Yay. Over the next few days, the house turned into a headquarters. Ashley and Robert worked side by side, planning every detail. Daniel managed the vendors, decorators, and the guest list. And Theo? Well, Theo helped in his own way. On decoration day, he insisted on helping hang the balloons. He climbed a ladder and, while trying to tie one balloon, accidentally let go of a dozen that floated straight up to the ceiling. Oops. Ashley looked up at the balloons stuck in the rafters. Theo, what did you do? I didn't mean to. They got away. Robert shook his head, but he was smiling. We're going to need a taller ladder. Another mishap happened while testing the sound system. Theo, curious as always, fiddled with the wires and knocked over a microphone, which let out a loud, high-pitched screech through the whole hall. Everyone covered their ears. Ashley rushed over. Theo, don't touch things without asking. Sorry, I just wanted to see how it worked. Daniel turned the sound off, laughing. This kid's a force of nature. But the funniest moment came the day before the event. Theo was helping paint some glitter banners. Robert was nearby, reviewing the speech he would give at the ceremony. "Dad, look what I made." Theo raised a handful of gold glitter. Robert turned toward him. "Very nice, buddy. Now go wash your hands before." Too late. Theo tripped and bumped into Robert, smearing glitter all over his clean white shirt. Silence. Robert looked down at his shirt, now sparkling with gold. Ashley had seen it all. She covered her mouth, trying not to laugh, but failed. She burst out laughing. Sorry, she said between laughs, but you look like a disco ball." Theo started laughing too. "Dad turned into glitter." Robert sighed, but couldn't get mad. "Theo, that's the third outfit you've ruined this week." "Sorry, Dad, but you look great, all shiny." Ashley came closer, still laughing, and tried wiping his shirt with a cloth. "I don't think glitter comes off with a cloth." "Great, I'm going to the event looking like a Christmas ornament." "Hey, Christmas is a few months away. You're just early," Ashley teased. The three of them laughed together, and in that moment, Robert realized what truly mattered. Not the event itself, but those little moments. The laughter, the mess, the connection. Finally, the big day arrived. The hall was beautifully decorated, but with personal touches too. Drawings from the kids on the walls, colorful balloons, handmade banners. It was the perfect mix of elegance and simplicity. The guests started to arrive. Business people, local public figures, even a few reporters. But the most important guests were the kids from Happy Corner, all dressed in their best clothes, excited and full of curiosity. Theo, wearing a little suit Ashley had picked out, ran around the room greeting everyone. "Welcome. I'm the official assistant," he said seriously to each person who walked in. Ashley looked beautiful in a simple light green dress, her hair down. She coordinated everything calmly, even when things went wrong. And something always went wrong. The white doves that were supposed to be released at the end of the event somehow got out early. Theo had checked on them and accidentally opened the little door. The doves flew around the hall, causing an adorable chaos. The kids ran after them, laughing. The adults ducked, trying not to get hit. "Theo!" Daniel shouted, chasing one of the birds. "It was an accident," Theo said, hands in the air. Ashley couldn't stop laughing. "This kind of stuff only happens to us." Robert laughed too. "I think people are going to remember this event." Absolutely. After a lot of effort, they managed to get the doves back. The event went on, now with more laughter and a lot less formality. When it was time for Robert's speech, he stepped onto the stage. But just before he could begin, Ashley tripped over one of the microphone cords while adjusting a chair. She lost her balance and went straight toward the main cake, a carefully decorated, three-tiered tower. It all seemed to happen in slow motion. Robert saw it and rushed over. He caught her by the arms just in time, stopping her from falling into the cake. They stayed frozen for a moment. Ashley in his arms, their faces very close. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're welcome," he said softly. The room erupted in applause. Everyone thought it was part of the show. From the back, Theo shouted, "Dad, save the cake!" Everyone laughed. Ashley and Robert stepped apart, embarrassed but smiling. When Robert finally started his speech, he spoke from the heart. He talked about the Happy Corner, about the children who needed support, and about how Ashley had shown him the true meaning of generosity. Sometimes we forget that a person's worth isn't about what they have, but what they do with what they have, he said, looking straight at Ashley. And I was lucky enough to meet someone who taught me that. Ashley wiped her eyes, moved. The children from the daycare clapped, and soon the entire room was on their feet, applauding. The event was a success. They raised more than expected, and many guests volunteered to keep supporting the Happy Corner. When it was all over and the guests had gone, Robert, Ashley, and Theo were alone in the empty hall, surrounded by deflated balloons and confetti on the floor. "We did it," Ashley said with a smile. "We sure did," Robert agreed. Theo yawned and leaned his head on Ashley's shoulder. It was the best day. The two adults looked at each other, and in that moment, something shifted. The energy between them wasn't just friendly anymore. It was something deeper, something real. And they both knew it. In the days following the event, life finally seemed to find its balance. The Happy Corner had received generous donations, Ashley was glowing with joy from the success, and Robert felt he had done something truly meaningful for the first time in years. But not everything stays peaceful when someone is watching from afar, filled with jealousy. Bianca had seen the photos from the event on social media. She saw Robert and Ashley smiling together. She saw the compliments he had given her during the speech. And every word, every image, every positive comment felt like a stab. She was sitting in her luxury apartment, staring at the photos on her phone, her face twisted with anger. "So that's how it is?" she muttered to herself. "He tests me, humiliates me, and now he's all in love with the nanny?" She threw the phone onto the couch and began pacing back and forth. She wasn't going to accept this. Not after everything she had invested in her relationship with Robert. She picked the phone back up and called a journalist friend. "Jennifer, I need a favor." The next morning, Robert was in his office reviewing some contracts when Daniel rushed in, looking worried. "Robert, we've got a problem." "What kind of problem?" Daniel placed a tablet on the desk, showing a headline from a local news site. "Billionaire's nanny accused of misusing charity funds." Robert felt his stomach turn. "What?" "Keep reading." The article claimed Ashley had diverted part of the donations for personal use. It quoted anonymous sources who claimed to have proof of suspicious transactions. And of course, there were photos of her at the event, with captions suggesting she was using the funds to promote herself. "This is absurd," Robert said, furious. "She didn't touch a cent. All the money went straight to the daycare." "I know, but the internet doesn't. And it's spreading fast." Robert picked up his phone and saw that the story already had thousands of shares. The comments were cruel, calling Ashley a fraud and opportunist. "Who would do this?" Robert asked, though he already knew the answer. Daniel sighed. "I have a good guess." Robert clenched his fists. "Bianca." "Most likely." Just then Robert's phone rang. It was Ashley. He answered immediately. "Ashley, I saw the article. It's all lies. I'm going to—" "I know it's lies." She interrupted, her voice shaking. "But nobody else knows that. People are calling me, sending awful messages. There are people outside my house, Robert. I don't know what to do." Robert felt a tightness in his chest. "Stay there. I'm sending security to you right now, and I'll fix this." "How?" "The internet already decided I'm guilty. I'll prove it's not true. Trust me." There was a pause. "All right." She hung up. Robert immediately called the head of security and sent 2 guards to Ashley's house. Then he turned to Daniel. "Can you trace where this story came from?" "I'm already on it." While Daniel worked, Robert tried to think of a solution. But before he could act, his phone rang again. This time, it was the company's board of directors. "Mr. Marshall, we need to speak with you regarding your son's nanny." Robert closed his eyes, already expecting the worst. "I'm listening." "The accusations are damaging the company's image. We need you to publicly distance yourself from her until this is cleared up." "No, Mr. Marshall." "I said no. She's innocent, and I won't abandon her." "So you're saying you trust her more than the company's reputation?" Robert hesitated. Just for a second, but it was enough. "I need time to investigate." "Understood. But in the meantime, we strongly suggest you keep your distance." They hung up. Robert stood still, the weight of the decision heavy on his shoulders. Daniel looked at him, concerned. "You're not really going to walk away from her, are you?" "Of course not, but I need proof first." "Robert, she needs you now. If you hesitate, you'll lose her." But Robert was torn. The pressure from the board, the media, the company, everything felt like it was falling apart. That afternoon, Ashley made the decision herself. She showed up at Robert's house, her eyes red from crying. Theo ran to hug her. "Ashley, you're back." She hugged him tight. "Hi, sweetheart." Robert came down the stairs, surprised to see her. "Ashley, you didn't have to come. I was going to see you." "No, I had to come." She let go of Theo and stood up straight, facing Robert. "I came to resign." "What?" "No, Robert, I can't work here anymore. Not after this." She wiped her eyes. "You hesitated." "What do you mean?" "When the board called, Daniel told me, you hesitated to defend me." Robert felt like he'd been punched. "Ashley, that's not what happened." "Yes, it is. And I get it. You have a company, a reputation. I'm just the nanny." She gave a sad smile. "But I can't stay in a place where I'm not trusted." Theo, listening to everything, started to cry. "No, Ashley, you can't leave." Ashley knelt down and held his face gently. "Sweetheart, I'm going to miss you. But sometimes things change." "But who's going to sing me to sleep? Who's going to make funny pancakes?" She hugged him tight, tears running down her face. "You'll find someone." I don't want someone else. I want you. Robert stood there, heartbroken, unable to find the right words. Ashley stood up, gave Robert one last look, and said, "Take good care of him." And she walked out the door. Theo stood frozen, shocked, then turned to his father, eyes full of tears and anger. "You let her leave." "Theo, you let Ashley leave, Dad?" He hit his fists on his legs in frustration. "Now who's going to sing me to sleep?" Robert knelt down, trying to hug his son, but Theo pushed him away. "I don't want you. I want Ashley." And he ran to his room, slamming the door. Robert was left alone in the hallway, the silence pressing in around him. Daniel appeared, arms crossed. "You really let that happen." "I know. She was the best thing that ever happened to you and Theo, and you let her go because of fear." "I know," Robert shouted, frustrated. "I know, Daniel, but what do I do now?" Daniel shook his head. "You fix it, however you can, because if you don't, you're going to lose her forever." Robert went upstairs and stopped at Theo's bedroom door. He could hear the boy quietly crying inside. Robert leaned his forehead against the door, heart heavy. He had lost more than an employee. He had lost the person who brought color back into his and his son's life. The person who made Theo smile. The person who made Robert feel human again. And now she was gone. Because of him. The next morning, Robert had barely slept. He spent the whole night thinking about how to fix the mess he had made. He went down to the kitchen and found Theo sitting at the table, arms crossed, frowning. He was still mad. "Good morning, champ." Theo didn't answer, he just looked away. Robert sighed and sat beside him. "Theo, I know you're mad at me, and you have every right, but I need your help." Theo finally looked at him, curious in spite of his hurt. "Help with what?" "To bring Ashley back." The boy's eyes lit up. "Really? Really? But first, we have to prove she's innocent, and for that I'm going to need a very smart assistant." Robert held out his hand. "What do you say?" Theo looked at his father's hand, thinking. Then he shook it firmly. "Okay, but only because it's for Ashley." "Fair enough." Daniel walked into the kitchen, already holding a cup of coffee. "So what's the plan, detectives?" Robert stood up, determined. "We need to find out who spread those lies, and I have a pretty strong idea who it was." "Bianca," Daniel said. "Exactly." Theo jumped from his chair, excited. "Are we going to spy on her? Like in the movies?" Robert hesitated. "Not exactly spy." "Yes, we're going to spy." Theo ran off to his room. "I need my detective gear," Daniel laughed. "This should be interesting." A few minutes later, Theo came back wearing an oversized coat, a felt hat that covered half his face, and a crooked fake mustache stuck above his lip. Robert blinked. "Theo, what are you wearing?" "My detective disguise." He adjusted the mustache. "Now no one will recognize me." Daniel crouched to his level. "Theo, you look like a cartoon detective." "Exactly." Theo grinned, proud. Robert shook his head but couldn't help smiling. "All right, let's go, Detective Theo." The first step was to find out where the false story came from. Daniel had already traced the article back to the journalist who published it, Jennifer Hayes. She was a close friend of Bianca's. "So Bianca's definitely involved," Daniel said, showing the connections on his computer. "But we need solid proof." "How do we get that?" Theo asked, adjusting the fake mustache that was slipping off. Robert thought for a moment. "We need Bianca to confess, or find proof of the fake transfers she made up." "Or both," Daniel suggested. Theo raised his hand, like he was in school. "I have an idea," Robert asked. "We pretend we believe her lies, then she'll get confident and tell us everything." Daniel and Robert looked at each other, impressed. "That's not a bad idea," Daniel admitted. "See, I'm good at this." Theo adjusted his hat, full of pride. Robert called Bianca. She answered on the third ring, her voice way too sweet to be genuine. "Robert, what a surprise." "Bianca, we need to talk. In person." "Of course, darling. When?" "Today, at the downtown cafe, 1 o'clock. "I'll be there." When he hung up, Daniel looked at him, concerned. "Are you sure about this?" "No, but it's the only chance we've got." Theo jumped up. "I'm going too. I need to see the villain up close." "Theo, you can't go. She'll recognize you." "Not with my disguise." Theo adjusted his mustache again. Robert sighed, but Daniel stepped in. "Let him come. We'll sit at a table on the other side. He can be our lookout." "Lookout, yes." Theo struck a superhero pose. At 1 o'clock, everyone was in position at the cafe. Robert sat at a table near the window, while Daniel and Theo sat at a table in the back, both trying to look casual. Theo still wore the fake mustache, and now he had added sunglasses. "Theo, you're drawing more attention like this," Daniel whispered. "But no one knows who I am." "Everyone knows who you are. You're the only one here with a fake mustache." Theo crossed his arms but didn't take off the disguise. Bianca showed up right on time, dressed up as always. She sat down across from Robert, smiling. "So what did you want to talk about?" Robert kept his voice calm. "About Ashley. The accusations against her." Bianca faked concern. "Oh yes. Terrible, isn't it? Who would have thought she could do something like that?" "You really think she did it?" "Well, the evidence is clear, isn't it?" "Is it?" Robert leaned forward. "Because I reviewed every account from the event. Every penny is accounted for. There's no missing money." Bianca hesitated but kept her cool. Maybe she was smart enough to hide it. Or maybe someone made the whole thing up. Bianca's smile faltered. Why would anyone do that? Jealousy. Revenge. Robert looked her in the eye. "You tell me." Bianca stood up, offended. "Are you accusing me?" "I'm just asking questions." She grabbed her purse, furious. "I don't have to listen to this. Goodbye, Robert." And she stormed out, slamming the cafe door behind her. Theo and Daniel walked over to Robert's table. "She didn't confess," Theo said, disappointed. "Not yet," Robert replied. "But now she's nervous." "Nervous people make mistakes," Daniel smiled. "And I know exactly what mistake she's going to make." Back at the office, Daniel hacked into, well, not exactly hacked, but used his contacts to access the messages between Bianca and the journalist Jennifer. "Here it is," he said, pointing to the screen. Messages between them. Bianca literally paid Jennifer to publish the fake story. Robert read the messages, his blood boiling. It was clear evidence. Bianca had made everything up, even created fake documents to support the accusations. "This is enough," Robert said. "We can take it to the police." "Even better," Daniel suggested. "We can expose it publicly, just like she did to Ashley." Theo, who had been drawing in a notebook, looked up. "We're going to unmask the villain." Robert smiled. "Exactly." They spent the rest of the day getting everything ready. Daniel organized the evidence, Robert reached out to trustworthy journalists, and Theo made hand-drawn signs that said Ashley is innocent with heart doodles. "Theo, I'm not sure we'll need signs," Robert said, trying not to laugh. "We do. It's for when we go on TV." "We're not going on TV." "Not yet," Theo held up the sign proudly. That night, after Theo went to bed, Robert and Daniel reviewed everything one more time. "Tomorrow, we'll go to the daycare," Robert said. "I'm going to hold a press conference there. Show the evidence. Clear Ashley's name publicly." Daniel nodded. "And Bianca?" "She'll have to answer for what she did." "And Ashley? Do you think she'll forgive you?" Robert went quiet. That was the question that haunted him. Even if he proved she was innocent, would she ever trust him again? "I don't know," he admitted. "But I have to try." Daniel placed a hand on his friend's shoulder. "You'll do it, because this time you're doing the right thing. No hesitation." Robert nodded, hopeful. The next morning, he woke Theo up early. The boy was excited, holding up the signs. "Today's the day, Dad. We're going to save Ashley. We're going to try, champ." They went to the daycare, where Daniel had already set everything up. There were reporters, cameras, and even some of the kids from Happy Corner, curious about all the commotion. Robert stepped up onto a small makeshift platform, with Theo beside him holding a sign proudly that read, "Ashley is innocent." The cameras began recording. "Good morning, everyone," Robert began, his voice steady. "I'm here today to clear up an injustice. Ashley Carter was falsely accused of misusing funds, and I have proof that those accusations were made up." He presented the documents, the messages between Bianca and the journalist, and the bank statements showing that all the money had gone to the daycare. The crowd went silent, taking it all in. "Bianca Reynolds made up these accusations out of personal revenge," Robert continued. "And Jennifer Hayes published the story without checking the facts. Both will be held legally responsible." Cameras clicked, and reporters scribbled notes frantically. Theo, unable to hold back, grabbed the microphone. "And Ashley is the best nanny in the world, and my dad was silly, but now he's fixing it." Laughter echoed through the crowd. Robert smiled, a bit embarrassed but grateful. When the press conference ended, Daniel walked up. "You did the right thing." "I hope so." But there was still one thing left to do: find Ashley and beg for her forgiveness. After the press conference, Robert knew he had taken the first step. But clearing Ashley's name in public wasn't enough. He needed to talk to her, face to face. The problem was finding her. Ashley wasn't answering her phone. She had shut down her social media. It was like she had vanished. She's probably at her apartment, Daniel suggested. Or maybe staying with a friend. I tried the apartment. She didn't answer the door. Theo, who was sitting on the couch eating cookies, raised his hand. I know where she is. Robert turned. You do? Of course. She always said that when she was sad, she went to the park near the daycare, the one with the colorful swings. Robert and Daniel looked at each other. Why didn't you say anything earlier? Robert asked. Theo shrugged. No one asked me. 20 minutes later, Robert was at the park. It was a simple place, mostly visited by children and families. There were swings, a worn-out slide, and wooden benches under the trees. And there, sitting on one of the swings, was Ashley. She was swinging slowly, her feet dragging on the ground, eyes lost in thought. She wore jeans and a simple blouse, her hair pulled back in a loose ponytail. Robert approached slowly, his heart beating fast. Ashley? She turned her head, surprised to see him. Robert, what are you doing here? Theo told me where to find you. She gave a small smile. Of course he did. Robert sat on the swing beside her, quiet for a moment. Did you see the press conference? I did. She kept looking forward. Thank you for doing that. I should have done it from the start, without hesitation. Ashley finally looked at him. But you did hesitate. I know, and I regret that every day. She sighed, tired. Robert, I understand you were under pressure. The company, the board, the media, all of it's real. But when you care about someone, you don't hesitate. You just act. You're right, and I didn't act. Robert stopped swinging and turned to her. But I want to fix that. Not just in public, but with you, personally. Ashley was quiet, weighing his words. I'm organizing a ceremony, Robert continued, at the daycare, to present the improvements we'll make with the funds we raised, and I want you to be there. Not as an employee, not as a nanny, but as the person who made all this possible. She shook her head, her eyes welling up. I don't know if I can, Robert. It still hurts. I know, and I'm not asking you to forgive me now. But please, come. Let me show you that I've changed, that I've learned. Ashley wiped her eyes, thinking. Finally, she nodded. All right, I'll go. Robert felt a huge sense of relief. Thank you. She stood up, adjusting her bag. But I'm not promising anything beyond that, okay? I understand. She began to walk away, but then turned and looked back. And Robert? Yes? Thank you for finally doing the right thing. He smiled, his eyes bright. I should have done it a long time ago. The next day, the ceremony was held. This time, it wasn't a grand event. It was something more intimate, with the children from the daycare, the volunteers, a few local officials, and of course the press. Happy Corner had been completely transformed. The walls were freshly painted, new toys had arrived, and one of the rooms had even been turned into a small library. The kids ran around, excited, exploring every corner. Robert was nervous. He kept checking his watch every 5 minutes, waiting for Ashley to arrive. Theo, dressed in a neat little outfit, tugged on his father's sleeve. She's gonna come, Dad, trust me. I hope so, buddy. And then Ashley appeared at the door. She wore a simple yellow dress, her hair down, and a gentle smile on her face. Robert felt his heart skip a beat. She looked beautiful, not because of the dress or the hair, but because of the light she carried within her. Theo ran straight to her. Ashley, you came. She knelt down and hugged him. Of course I did. I wouldn't miss this for anything. I knew it. Theo grabbed her hand. Come on, there's so much new stuff to show you. He pulled her through the room, showing her every detail. Ashley laughed, genuinely happy, as the kids surrounded her, thrilled to see her back. Robert watched from a distance, his heart full. Daniel appeared beside him. Go talk to her. Not yet. Let her enjoy the moment. When it was finally time for the speech, Robert stepped onto the stage. But before he could begin, Theo ran up and grabbed the microphone. Wait, Dad, I have something to say. The crowd chuckled. Robert knelt down to his level. Theo, what are you doing? You taught me something important, Dad. Theo turned to the audience. My dad taught me that saying sorry is something strong people do, and he's got something to say. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Robert. He looked at Theo, then at Ashley, who was sitting in the front row, her eyes wide. He took the microphone back and took a deep breath. Theo's right. I do have something to say. He looked straight at Ashley. Ashley, I'm sorry for what I did. I tested you because I was afraid. Afraid that no one would ever love me for who I really am. Afraid that everyone around me only wanted the money, the image, the lifestyle. He stepped off the stage and walked toward her. But you reminded me of something I had forgotten. That there are good people in this world. People who do the right thing not because of what they'll get, but because it's who they are. And I almost lost you because of my fear. I almost ruined the best thing that ever happened to me and to Theo. Ashley's eyes were filled with tears. I'm not asking you to love me. I'm not even asking you to come back and work for me. He gently took her hands. I'm just asking for a chance to show you that I can be the man you deserve. The silence was total. Even the kids were still, waiting. Ashley wiped her eyes and smiled through her tears. You're a fool, Robert Marshall. He let out a nervous laugh. I know. A stubborn, proud fool who took way too long to see what was right in front of him. I know. But she squeezed his hands. You're also brave, because owning up to your mistakes is hard. And you did that, in front of everyone. So, do you forgive me? Ashley smiled, the light returning to her eyes. Yes, I forgive you. Relief flooded through Robert. He pulled her into a hug, and Ashley hugged him back, tight. Theo, watching everything from the stage, couldn't help himself. He grabbed the microphone again and shouted, Now you can kiss. The room burst into laughter and applause. Ashley and Robert stepped apart, both blushing but smiling. This boy is impossible, Ashley murmured. He gets it from me. Robert joked. They laughed together, and in that moment, surrounded by claps, laughter, and love, everything finally made sense. The test was over. And love, real love, had won. 3 months had passed since that day at the daycare. And everything had changed. Robert's mansion, once quiet and formal, was now full of life. Laughter echoed through the halls, off-key music came from the kitchen, and someone was always running from room to room. Ashley had come back, not as a nanny, but as the official coordinator of the Happy Corner outreach program. She worked directly with Robert to expand it to more centers across the city. And yes, she and Robert were officially dating. Theo celebrated like he had won the lottery when they told him. He danced around the living room and declared, I knew it. I always knew it. That morning, Robert woke to the sound of pans clanging in the kitchen. He came downstairs and found Ashley trying to make pancakes while Theo was helping crack eggs, half in the bowl, half on the floor. Good morning, family, Robert said from the doorway, smiling. Ashley turned, her hair a mess, a streak of flour across her face. Good morning. We're making surprise breakfast. Surprise? Robert looked at the messy kitchen. I'd say it's more like organized disaster. Theo raised his flour-covered hands. It's culinary art, Dad. You don't get it? Ashley laughed and tossed a dish towel at Robert. Stop complaining and come help. He grabbed the towel and joined them. Together, they managed to make a decent stack of pancakes, some lopsided, some a little burnt, but all made with love. While they ate, Theo announced, Today is going to be a big day. Why's that? Robert asked. Because today we're going to the Happy Corner to see the final renovations, and I'm going to show everyone my drawing on the wall. Ashley smiled. That's right. Today is the official opening of the new library. Robert reached across the table and took her hand. You did an amazing job with this project. We did. She corrected him. It was a team effort. Theo raised his juice glass. A toast to the best team in the world. The three of them clinked their glasses, laughing. Later, they went together to the daycare. The place was completely transformed. The rooms had bright colors, the toys were new and safe, and the library was cozy, filled with colorful pillows and bookshelves. Children ran around, amazed by everything. Theo took the role of official tour guide, showing every corner like he owned the place. And this is the art room where I painted that giant picture. He pointed to an abstract painting on the wall. It's a dragon or a dog? I haven't decided yet. Ashley whispered to Robert. I think it's a mix of both. Robert chuckled quietly. Let's call it a dragog. She lightly tapped his arm. Stop it. While the children played, Ashley and Robert sat on one of the benches in the daycare's garden. The sun was warm and there was a peaceful feeling in the air. Are you happy? Robert asked, holding her hand. Ashley smiled. Very. More than I ever thought I could be. Me too. He kissed her hand. Thank you for giving me this chance. Thank you for learning how to trust. They sat there in a comfortable silence, simply watching the children play. Theo came running, out of breath. Ashley, come see. There's a new girl, and she wants to meet you. Ashley stood up, leaving Robert alone on the bench. He watched her interact with the children, so natural, so genuine. And he felt a tightness in his chest, but it was happiness. Daniel showed up beside him, sitting down on the bench. You've got that goofy look on your face again. What look? The I'm the luckiest man in the world look. Daniel smiled. And you are. Robert laughed. I know. Seriously, Robert, you've changed, and it's a good change. It's all thanks to her. And Theo. They showed me there's more to life than business. Daniel gave his friend a pat on the shoulder. I'm really happy for you, man. That afternoon, back at the mansion, Theo was worn out from all the excitement. He lay down on the couch, hugging one of his toys. Best day ever, he murmured, yawning. Ashley covered him with a blanket. Rest up, champ. Theo grabbed her hand. Ashley? Yes. You're going to stay with us forever, right? Ashley felt her eyes fill with tears. I am, sweetheart. I promise. Good. He closed his eyes, smiling. Because you're part of the family now. Robert, standing at the doorway, felt a lump in his throat. Family. That's exactly what they were now. When Theo fell asleep, Ashley and Robert went out to the garden. They sat on the grass, watching the sunset. Theo's right, you know, Robert said. You are part of this family. Ashley rested her head on his shoulder. And you and Theo are my family too. They stayed there in peace until Ashley sat up a little, looking nervous. Robert, I need to tell you something. He turned to her, concerned. What is it? Is everything okay? Everything's perfect. Actually better than perfect. She took a deep breath. I'm pregnant. Robert blinked, taking it in. Pregnant? Yes, 2 months along. Silence. Ashley started to get nervous. I know it's early and we're still finding our rhythm, and maybe it's not the perfect time, but Robert cut her off with a kiss. When he pulled back, he was smiling from ear to ear. It's the perfect time. Really? Really? He pulled her into another hug. We're having a baby. Ashley laughed, relieved and happy. We are. They stayed there, holding each other until they heard footsteps behind them. They turned and saw Theo standing in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. I heard voices. What's going on? Robert and Ashley looked at each other. Then Robert reached out a hand. Come here, champ. We've got news for you. Theo walked closer, curious. What news? Ashley knelt down to his level. Theo, you're going to be a big brother. Theo's eyes went wide. A brother? Like, for real? For real. Robert smiled. There's going to be a baby in the family. Theo stayed quiet for a moment. Then his face lit up with the biggest smile in the world. I'm going to be a big brother. He jumped up, cheering. I'm going to teach the baby how to be a superhero and how to do science experiments and build forts. Ashley laughed, wiping her eyes. Well, it could be a girl. Does it matter? I'm going to be the best big brother in the world. Robert hugged them both, holding them tight. And in that moment, surrounded by the two people he loved most, he knew. He had found what he had always been looking for. Not in tests, not in money, not in control, but in love. True, simple, and pure. Theo pulled back and looked at the two of them with that strange wisdom only kids seem to have. See, Dad, I told you I needed a nanny, but now we got a family. Ashley and Robert laughed, their eyes full of happy tears. You've always been the smartest one out of the three of us, Robert said, ruffling his son's hair. The three of them hugged again. 6 months had passed since that magical night in the garden. Ashley's belly was round and beautiful, and Theo spent his days talking to the baby, telling silly stories and singing off-key songs he had learned from her. Hi, baby. Today I learned that dinosaurs were big, but not as big as Mommy Ashley's love, Theo would say, resting his head against her belly. Ashley laughed, running her fingers through his hair. You're going to confuse this baby before it's even born. Impossible. I'm the best big brother in the universe. Robert watched it all from the doorway, heart full of joy. But there was still one thing he had to do. Something important. That afternoon, while Ashley was resting and Theo was at school, Robert called Daniel. I need your help. It's time. Daniel smiled on the other end of the line. Finally. I thought you'd never ask. 2 weeks later, Robert planned a picnic at the park where he had first met Ashley after the scandal. The same park with the colorful swings. Theo, of course, was part of the plan. He wore a t-shirt that said, "The best part is about to begin," and carried the picnic basket like it was treasure. "Remember, Theo," Robert whispered, "you have to wait for the right moment." I know. Theo made a motion like locking his lips and throwing away the key. When Ashley arrived, wearing a light pale pink dress, she found the whole thing adorable. A picnic? What a beautiful surprise. "I thought you deserved a special day," Robert said, reaching out his hand. They sat on the grass, eating sandwiches and fruit, laughing about old memories. Theo was fidgety, glancing at his dad every 5 seconds. "Theo, are you okay?" Ashley asked. "You look like you swallowed a cricket." "Me? I'm great. Super great. Never better," he answered way too quickly. She laughed. "You're hiding something." "No, maybe, just a little." Theo clapped his hand over his mouth. Robert shook his head, smiling. It was now or never. He stood up, nervously wiping his hands. "Ashley, there's something I want to tell you." She looked up at him, curious. "What is it?" "When I met you, I was lost. I didn't believe in real love anymore. I didn't trust people, and I only lived for work." He held her hands. "But you changed everything. You taught me to trust, to love, to be a better man. You showed me life isn't about what we have. It's about who we are and who we choose to love." Ashley's eyes filled with tears. "Robert," he got down on one knee and pulled out a small box from his pocket. "Ashley Carter, will you marry me?" Time seemed to stop. Ashley covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Theo couldn't hold back. He jumped up, shouting, "Say yes! Say yes! Say yes!" Ashley laughed through her tears, looking at Robert, then at Theo, then back to Robert. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Robert slipped the ring on her finger, and before he could stand up, Ashley pulled him into a kiss. The invisible audience, Daniel, hiding behind a tree with a camera, cheered quietly. Theo jumped in between them, hugging them both. "We're going to be a real family." "We already were, champ," Robert said, ruffling his hair, "but now it's official." 3 months later, the wedding took place. Simple, but beautiful. It was held in the mansion's garden, decorated with colorful balloons, wildflowers, and banners painted by the children from Cantinho Feliz. Theo was the ring bearer. Dressed in a tiny suit with a crooked tie, he insisted on tying himself. "I look very fancy," he declared, spinning around to show off. Ashley was glowing. Her dress was simple, white, flowing, perfect for her already big belly. Her hair was down with little flowers woven in. She walked forward smiling, holding a bouquet of daisies. When she reached the makeshift altar, Robert felt the tears come. "You look beautiful." "So do you," she replied with that playful smile. The ceremony was emotional. Daniel was the best man, of course, and gave a hilarious speech about how Robert used to be an emotional robot before he met Ashley. When it was time for the vows, Robert held Ashley's hands and said, "I promise to love you every day, on the easy days and the hard ones. I promise to always trust you, support you, and make crooked pancakes for breakfast. And I promise I'll never test you again. Because I already know the answer. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me." Ashley wiped her eyes, laughing. "My turn. Robert, you came into my life when I least expected it. You gave me a family, a home, and a love I never thought I deserved. I promise to love you, make you laugh, and sing out-of-tune songs for the rest of my life." "Please don't," someone in the crowd joked, and everyone laughed. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Theo shouted before anyone else, "Finally." The kiss was long, applauded, and perfect. The reception was joyful. Kids ran around the garden, adults danced, and there was food and music everywhere. During a quiet moment, Robert, Ashley, and Theo stepped away from the crowd and sat on the porch steps. "This was the best day," Theo said, resting his head on Ashley's shoulder. "It really was," Robert agreed. Ashley held both their hands. "Thank you for everything." Theo looked at her. "Are you really my mom now?" Ashley felt her heart tighten. "If you want me to be, I do." He hugged her. "You always were." The three of them stayed there, holding each other, while the party went on around them. And in that moment, everything made sense. The test was over. Love had won, and the family was complete. Months later, when the baby was born, a beautiful little girl named Emma, Theo held his baby sister gently and said, "Hi, Emma. I'm your big brother, and I'm going to teach you everything about being amazing." Robert and Ashley, standing hand in hand next to the crib, just smiled. Because in the end, they had learned the most important lesson of all. Sometimes the biggest test in life is learning to trust the ones who truly love you. And when you learn that, everything changes. What did you think of Robert and Ashley's story? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Rate this story from 0 to 10. What score would you give it? Subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell to keep up with all our stories. And don't forget to check out more touching stories by clicking right here on the end screen.